Have you ever been told you're too much? Maybe you were told your laugh was too loud, or your ideas were too big, or perhaps your heart was just a little too intense for the room. Well, I have a secret for you. That too muchness, that's not a flaw. That's your gold. Hello and welcome to Living in Muchness. I'm your host, Glenn Agoncillo, and I am so glad you're here today. So you're probably wondering, what is muchness? It's the absolute 100% pure essence of who you were before the world started handing you a pair of scissors and telling you to trim your edges. It's your vibrancy, your intensity, your unapologetic, look at me now vibe. It means taking that too muchness and wearing it like a superpower. It's refusing to dim your light just because someone else forgot to bring their sunglasses. So whether you're looking to reclaim your joy and fire up your career, or just remember who the heck you are, you're in the right place. Because today, we aren't just living, we're living in muchness. Let's get into it. Hello, hello, hello! Hi, I am Glenn Agoncillo, your Muchness host, and I would like to personally welcome you to the Living in Muchness podcast. It is a place and space for each and every part of you to feel very welcome and to be you. First and foremost, I would like to thank you all for being part of the journey. And also, if you're joining us for the first time, I would like to personally send you my deepest appreciation, because I know that you could be doing something else and you're actually choosing to be here and being part of the community. So welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, I do have some updates for you. I'm in my space here in Long Beach, where I reside, and this is actually my creativity space. And episode 1, I actually filmed that in Joshua Tree, and so today you get to be here in my colorful, vibrant space. And then also number 2, you will hear airplanes flying around. I don't know what the deal is. Somehow they just decided to be flying above, and I'm just inviting each and every one of us to allow the sounds of the airplanes, that buzzing sound, to be part of our soundtrack today. On episode 1, I got to share with you one of the 6 things that I tell myself every day. So I guess we can call it like my mantras. And that episode was all about I'm choosing to experience life as a journey. And on episode 2, in today's episode, I am so excited to share with you my number 2 mantra. And it goes a little something like this. I can do hard things. I can do hard things. Have you ever told yourself at one point, or maybe several times, that, oh my God, this is so hard? Or if you're trying to learn something new, and you get frustrated because things are starting to get hard, and you start to tell yourself, oh my God, I can't do this. I'm just going to give up. And, this feeling of defeat, or I just can't, I just can't. And this fear just starts to sink in. Well, today I'm so excited to share with you some life examples that I got to experience, and also tips that I discovered for myself, also from the help of other people, on how I overcame hard challenges. Because at the end of the day, I can do hard things. And I also believe that you can do hard things. So a few months ago, I did something very hard. I have to say it's probably like one of the hardest things I've ever done. I left the corporate world after being in it for 30 plus years. A lot of people, even family and loved ones, were asking me like, what the heck were you thinking? You've built yourself up and then all of a sudden you're just going to go ahead and like let it go. Yeah, don't get me wrong, it was very hard, and even receiving those feedbacks or reaction from people was also extremely hard to swallow. But at the end of the day, I just felt like I needed something new that is really in alignment with who I am as like who I am, like what my next chapter is. To me, being in that corporate world felt like I was reading chapter 10 over and over and over. And I started to feel like, hey, this is kind of like high school or college where it was time for me to graduate. Don't get me wrong, I mean, there's that beautiful comfort and safety of knowing the start, the middle, and how it all ends. But to me, I just felt drawn to doing something that feels very exciting for me at the present moment. And what does that look like? Well, here I am. I'm starting this podcast. And I don't know if you know this, but I've been wanting to launch this podcast for several years now. And I felt that reading chapter 10 and how comfortable it was and how safe it felt, it also held me back from doing this. And now I'm actually like expanding my social media presence, and I'm actually finding another joy in social media. I was telling someone the other day, like, yeah, beginning of, when was it? A few months ago, I'm like, I'm done with social media. I'm done putting myself out there in the world. But I feel like now, like after giving that up, after giving up that hard thing and letting go that hard thing, I'm opening myself up into something new. And perhaps now writing and authoring what chapter 11 looks like for me. And that includes like a series of children's books that I'm currently working on that is really focusing on mental health and how to create emotional safety and also feel our feelings. So that's what the children's book that I'm working on is all about. And don't get like, seriously, every day I do have doubts. Even like recording this episode, I'm like, okay, am I doing this right or am I doing this wrong? But at the end of the day, I know that I can do hard things. Just like 30 years ago, I knew I can do hard things. If I can be a corporate executive for many years, I know that I can do hard things, and I can also create success and create happiness and joy as I continue to author and write chapters 11, 12, and 13. One thing that I'm learning too, that when I'm choosing to do something that's very hard, is that there are old stories that will come in and be like, are you sure you're doing the right thing? Isn't this a little too hard for you? Yeah. I feel that every single day. I would be lying to you and be like, yeah, I'm always uppy and like peppy like this. But no, Glenn feels every single emotion, the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs, the wins and the losses, and all of that all together. I go back into what one of like my dear friends, Gay and Katie Hendricks, told me in the past is like, okay, Glenn, now you are choosing a new story for yourself. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Are you going to go back to feeling the safety of knowing that, hey, you have this corporate gig that has been really successful for you? However, deep inside, you have other things that are just wanting to be written. Yeah, that's really what I felt. And I go back into what Katie told and shared with me one time, is that the cost of being inauthentic is far greater than the cost of wanting to fit in. Yeah. So for the past 30 years, there were times that I felt like I was just fitting into the corporate mold, fitting into like the edges where I just need to explode. I experience a lot of creativity, and there are times that it felt very restricting. And yeah, it's easy to just go back into that, but I know deep inside that being in that space felt hard. It felt hard. It's a different kind of hard than what I'm experiencing now. Look at this podcast. I have different views. I've upgraded like my headphones and my microphone. Yeah, it's hard. And I think even having to record this episode is very challenging. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I'm having a great time. And I feel like I'm learning so many new things about myself. And I also get to experience my creativity and also share that. Share that not just for myself, but also share it with the world. Most recently, I actually got to experience something hard in a different way. I got to go back into my home country, the Philippines, after being here in the United States for almost 40 years. That was hard. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the country was going to look like or feel like. I can only like refer to what people have shared with me from their own personal experience, or scrolling through TikTok and watching TikTok videos of what Boracay Island is like or what Manila is like. So to me, it was very hard to experience going back, or the expectation of what I'm going to experience going back home after 40 years. And I also was feeling a little fearful or scared because I haven't seen some of my relatives, like my aunts and uncles, from I think the last time I saw them was I was like 8 or 9 years old. And some of my cousins who were toddlers then, who are total grown-ups like myself, that was hard. To me, the build-up was very hard. But after getting there, allowing myself to okay, let's take a pause. I'm finally going home. What is it that I want to experience? I know that this is hard. I'm traveling by myself. That's hard. Flying and having a connecting flight, going to Japan first, and then after that going to the Philippines. The whole travel experience was also very hard. So finally I just saw myself, okay, what is this chapter going to feel like? Maybe in the midst of these hard feelings or hard fear, how can I experience wonder, and how can I experience new stories for myself? As soon as I did that, and seeing my family members, my uncle hosted this beautiful welcome party for me. I got to see my aunts and uncles, and there were moments where I'm like, oh my God, I feel home. I'm noticing I'm having feelings about it, and just being able to experience being surrounded by family members who look like me and who share the same blood and same story. To me, that that was also hard, but in a different way, in a great way. Hard as in I've never felt these feelings before, and because for 40 years I lived in the United States. I lived here in the United States, and this is the only thing that I know. And it's again, it's kind of like that reference to reading chapter 10 over and over and over and over. To me, United States felt like chapter 10 in my life. And so now going to the Philippines, the next chapter, I really just dove in and told myself that even though I am feeling scared and that this is very hard, that I can also experience joy and home and belonging. So I shared a couple of personal life experiences with you, and also how I overcame, like how I overcame those the feeling of like this is so hard. You're probably wondering like, well, what's the lesson here? So I do want to share two lessons that I've learned from believing that I know that I can do hard things. One, that in the midst of being in that struggle, I can also experience my strength, my perseverance, and my joy and my creativity. I share that with you, like with being in this podcast, right? And the second part, too, is that the more I dive deep into really opening myself to knowing that I know that I can do hard things, I also get to experience like my muchness. Yeah. Like there are things deep inside, like I call it like my superpowers, my gifts. Deep inside that's just wanting to be discovered, and that's wanting to be expressed, and that's wanting to be experienced. So those are the two lessons that I really want to share with you with this episode. And then finally, like the best thing about this whole thing too, and like what really ties everything together, I'm just gonna call it kind of like that icing or that cherry on top, is that choosing to celebrate what you just went through, that hard thing that you got to overcome, and you knocked it out of the ballpark, is choosing to celebrate. Celebration is the key. Celebration is the key. It really is. It ties everything all together. It's like I don't know if you've experienced this before, but I remember back in the days when I would get like, if I would bring in my report card, if I would bring home my report card, and for every A, even A minus, okay? Even though I know in Asians, A minus is like the Asian F. So like for me, every time I would get an A, I would get some sort of like reward for it, right? To me, it's like that celebration. It's really that. So here's another thing about celebration that's a little tricky, okay? And I'm sure I'm making up a story that you're going to fall into this trap. Because you know what? I also fall into that trap. Oftentimes when I think of celebration, it has to be something big and grandiose and fantastic, I would choose to start with a small celebration. Like what feels easy. Like for me in the Philippines, yeah, I could have been doing cartwheels all over the place, and like to me that's like so big. Or no, actually better yet, the celebration would be like, I'm going to figure out how to save the world. Or in the Philippines, like every time I would look around, I would see all these kids that are like suffering or struggling. I'm like, I am going to solve world hunger. Yeah. As romantic as that sounds, I know that that's something that I can't do at this present moment, right? But I know that I can do simple celebrations. Like one simple celebration that I did was that I ate mangoes every single day. And I'm reminded how much I love mangoes. And that experience, that celebratory experience, felt like all of my senses were also a part of the journey. Where the touch of that mango, just by touching it, I'm like, oh man, this is one of the best mangoes ever. And then having to smell the ripeness of that mango, and then looking at like how juicy it looks, and that yellow, it's like Philippine mango yellow. I can't explain it, but it's just so vibrant that my eyes were just so excited. And then finally being able to put it in my mouth and just savoring every single sweet bite of that mango. that experience itself, that celebratory experience itself, became such a multi-sensory experience, journey, whatever you want to call it. So, yeah, like think of a way, like think of one thing, one simple thing on how you can celebrate like that win or a challenge that you wanted to overcome. Believing to do hard things is definitely a journey. I know that. I mean, it's a daily it's a daily journey for myself. And that's why this mantra is something that I say to myself every single day. I know that it's a journey because back in the days, I used to tell myself that I think I can do hard things. To now, I believe I can do hard things. And on those moments or those days where I feel like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this, I think about all the different hard things that I have experienced in the past and how I overcame them. And the beautiful part is also discovering all this muchness that resides deep inside of me, this wellspring of muchness that is just dying to be experienced and to be used and to be seen and to be celebrated. So I leave that with you. Think about all the challenges that you have accomplished and that you overcame and how hard they were. So use that as fuel, use that as experience, use that as wisdom, and know that you can do hard things. I'm going to leave you all with this beautiful quote from Walt Whitman, and it goes a little something like this. I am large, and I contain multitudes. So when you're doubting yourself, tell yourself, I am large and I contain multitudes. I've gone through so much and overcame those struggles and those challenges and those hard things. And those hard things don't feel as hard anymore. And that I can do hard things. So this is episode 2. Next week, I'll be sharing with you my third mantra that I tell myself every single day. If this podcast or this episode definitely resonates with you, I would love to know. Feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Or actually, if you also know someone that could totally relate or could use this episode, please share it with them. I would love to continue on building this beautiful community of people living in their muchness. So goodbye for now. Be well. And know that every part of you is loved. And finally, live in your muchness.